Hello, welcome or welcome back, depending on if you're new here. Today is going to be a chatty urban sketching and sketchbook session, so feel free to grab your sketchbook and join me. I was really excited to make this video because I'm really happy with how this sketchbook spread came out, so let's just get right into it. For this one, I started on location at the American Museum of Natural History as part of an urban sketching trip, and then I finished the spread back at home. So if you've never been to the Museum of Natural History before, it's a really fun place to visit, and it's also really big. They've got a lot of dinosaur bones and old skeletons on display, as well as exhibits on space, flora and fauna, and all that sort of stuff. And if you're trying to see everything all in one day, it can be kind of overwhelming, especially if it's busy, which of course it was while I was there. Thankfully, on this day, I was focused just on the dinosaur wing. I feel like usually I feel a sort of pressure to make sure I see every single part of a museum while I'm there, even if I get tired and don't actually want to be there anymore. I don't know if that's like a common thing other people feel, but I feel like I'm not making the most out of my trip there or the ticket price if I don't see everything. So I've been trying to get away from that sort of thinking so that I actually enjoy myself more. And especially when it comes to museums in the city, I'm trying to change my thinking to, I've been here before and I'll go here again. Or maybe I've never been there before, but it's so close that I can easily go again. So, relax. It's just as fun to pick a wing of a museum and hang out there all day, or until I feel like I'm ready to go, This was a rainy weekend while a lot of kids were on break, so the museum was actually packed, and I think that actually also helped me be less focused on running around because it was so busy that even the wide hallways were annoying to maneuver around in just to get from one place to another, which made it a lot more appealing to just find a spot to sit and not move for a while. And inside museums, you usually can't use watercolor, and sometimes you can't even use pen. So I had planned going into the day that I would do as much of my ink layer that I could on location and then finish the rest at home. I only ended up getting through 2 sketches on location, but I got some good photos to work from for after I left, which is a strategy I've been doing a lot lately, where I do the ink on location and the painting at home. And ideally, I would be able to finish the whole piece on location, but the ink layer usually takes too long to dry. So this has been really working for me instead. Also, I've been doing bigger and more detailed spreads on my urban sketching trips recently using this bigger sketchbook, so it's taking longer to finish them anyway. Because previously I was using more like a 5 by, 4 or something like that situation. So in those cases, I was more easily able to complete a whole spread in the time that I had at whatever place I was drawing, especially if I wasn't doing an ink layer and didn't have to wait for it to dry. But now I'm usually using this Illo sketchbook, which is around 7.5 by 7.5. It's 100% cotton and cold press, but definitely the biggest sketchbook that I've used so far. But anyway, so for these bones, they were a really fun challenge. I really wanted to try to get that cross-hatching in there and get some of the texture of the bones and also the unevenness of them. There's some really interesting variation between what's smooth and what's not, and I wanted to play around with that in both the ink and the watercolor layers. I'm sure the pen I'm using is familiar if you've seen literally any of my content before, especially from the last few months. I talk about it all the time because I love it. It's a Jinhao fountain pen. It's not expensive, and I fill it with Noodler's ink in black so that once the ink is dry, it doesn't reactivate with water. But as I said before, it can take longer than you think it should to dry fully. And I'll link both of these below as well in case you're looking for something similar. or you're looking to try a new fountain pen. So for this first sketch, I parked myself in front of the Apatosaurus. I haven't attempted dinosaurs or bones before, so this was a fun experiment. I was a little overwhelmed by the thought of doing the whole dinosaur, so I zoomed in instead, and I started with this leg, partly because there was a nice seat in front of it, and also because it seemed like a good section to ease into the shapes and textures of the bones. Also, I liked the bone shapes and the way that they fit together. That was just really pleasing to me. So I started with this one, and once I was done with this sketch, I felt a lot more confident in moving on to something more complicated like the skulls. But for this spread, I ended up doing a lot more line work than I had planned when I started, and I just sort of leaned into it and really enjoyed the process. And then once I got home and was ready for the watercolor layer, I used a combination of yellow ochre, burnt umber, burnt sienna, and Van Dyke brown. All of these are from Daniel Smith, so essentially I just used all of the earth tones in my palette, which was fun. For this one, on the right though, I did use some buff titanium as well, since that skull was a different color than the others. As a side note, I will say if you aren't comfortable with people coming up to you or lurking over your shoulder while drawing, I would definitely not recommend drawing in a museum that is popular with kids on a rainy weekend during a school break. I've grown a lot more comfortable with the idea of people approaching me over the last few months, but there were a lot of people around, and they like to see what's going on when people are drawing, even if you try to tuck yourself away. And everyone was really nice, but I think this time last year, the sheer amount of people would have made me so anxious that I don't think I would have drawn on location at all, which would have been a shame because I learned so much from actually being physically in front of my references. So it was actually kind of a nice thing for me to realize that have grown so much more comfortable with that. And again, everyone is usually really nice. You know, the kids are usually really cute. There was one kid who just sort of ran up to me and was like, "Are you drawing the dinosaurs?" And he was really excited about it, which was really cute. But yeah, anyway, so, and I have to say I am really happy with how this spread came out. Dinosaurs and bones, as I said before, were new for me, and I wasn't really sure how it was gonna go, but I'm really, really glad that I tried it because it was really fun. And yeah, so do you like to draw at museums? Do you have a favorite museum that you like to draw at? Let me know in the comments because I would love to hear all about it, especially if it's a New York museum. Definitely give me your recommendations. I've been going to a lot of them recently, and there's so many in the city. I would love to hear about your go-tos. And if you've made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more from me. It really helps out the channel. All of my socials and the supplies I used are in the description of the video, and I will see you in the next one.